YouTube? It's Knowledge of Self-Determination. So today is February the 15th. This day is in honor to Patrice Lamumba, who was assassinated in 1961. U.S. and African nationalists disrupt UN sessions to protest the slaying of Congo Prime Minister or Premier Patrice Lamumba. Patrice Lamumba was an African native. He was a Pan-Africanist, and he believed in a liberated Africa from European rule, which is not a bad thing. Because what people outside of Africans that are in Africa solely for material and monetary purposes are actually doing the continent and any of the countries in Africa any good. Patrice Lamumba wanted to stay neutral from other world affairs, like the conflicts between the U.S. and the Soviet Union. Like I said, he was a man who wanted the best for his people. He wanted to try and unite his country and the people in this country. He didn't want them to be divided or segregated by racial disparity or color caste systems and things of that nature. Of course, there'll be people who put a spin on his life and say he wasn't qualified for the job that he was elected to do, but he did the best he could while he could. So I'll go ahead and read a bit on Patrice Lamumba and the life thereof. Patrice Emery Lamumba, born July 2nd, 1925, and it says died January 17, 1961, although again, alternative resources say that it was February the 15th. So yeah, I'm let's see. Or rather, this is the anniversary of U.S. and African nationalists disrupting the UN sessions to protest the slaying of the Congo Prime Minister. Maybe that's when they actually protested in February, but it's saying that he died in January. So I'll continue on. Congolese independent leader and the first democratically elected leader of the Congo as Prime Minister. As founder and leader of the mainstream movement National Congolese Party, Lumumba played an important role in campaigning for independence from Belgium. Shortly after Congolese independence in 1960, a mutiny broke out in the army, marking the beginning of the Congo crisis. Lumumba appealed to the United States and the United Nations for assistance in suppressing the Belgian-supported Katangani secession. Both parties refused, so Lumumba turned to the Soviet Union for support. This led to growing differences with President Joseph Kasavubu and Chief of Staff Joseph Desiré Mobutu, as well as to foreign opposition from the United States and Belgium. Lumumba was subsequently imprisoned by state authorities under Mobutu and executed by a firing squad under the command of Katangani authorities. The United Nations, which he had asked to come to the Congo, did not intervene to save him. Belgium, the United Kingdom, and the United States have all been accused of involvement in Lumumba's death. In 2002, Belgium recognized its involvement in the killing and apologized to Lumumba's family and the people of Congo. In 2014, the United States also recognized the CIA's active involvement. Isn't it funny how a lot of the dirty shit that America does always involves the CIA? I'm starting to really believe that the CIA is nothing more than a mercenary group. I mean, in all honesty, it's called the Central Intelligence Agency, but they seem to have their hands in the dirt. To be honest with you, the CIA is always implicated in some of the most foulest, heinous, and dirtiest shit that has happened on this planet. So I'll continue reading some of his early life and career. Lumumba was born on July 2nd, 1925, to a farmer, Francois Tolinga Otechima, and his wife, Julianne Wamato Lomenja, in Onalu, in the Katakokombe region of the Kasai province of the Belgian Congo. He was a member of the Tetla ethnic group and was born with the name Elias Okit Osombo. His original surname means heir of the cursed and is derived from the Tetla words Okita and Okiti, heir and successor, and Osombo, cursed or bewitched people who will die quickly. He had three brothers, Ian Clark, Emil Kalema, and Louis Onema Pene Lamumba, and one half-brother, Tolinga Jean. Raised in a Catholic family, he was educated at a Protestant primary school, a Catholic missionary, and finally the government post office training school, passing the one-year course with distinction. Lumumba spoke Tetla, French, Lingala, Swahili, and Chiluba. Outside his regular studies, Lumumba took an interest in the Enlightenment ideals of Jean-Jacques Rousseau, and Voltaire. He also read works by Molière and Victor Hugo. Around the same time, Lumumba began writing poetry, with many of his works taking on an anti-imperialist theme. He worked in Leopoldville and Stanleyville as a postal clerk and as a traveling beer salesman. In 1951, he married Pauline Apengu. In 1955, Lumumba became regional head of the Circles of Stanleyville and joined the Liberal Party of Belgium, where he worked on editing and distributing party literature. After traveling on a 3-week study tour in Belgium, he was arrested in 1955 on charges of embezzlement. His 2-year sentence was commuted to 12 months after it was confirmed by Belgian lawyer Jules Chrome that Lumumba had returned the funds, and he was released in July 1956. Now, there's an actual information here that kind of disputes that a little bit. Let me see if I can find it without taking too much time looking through this stuff. And no, I can't, so I'll continue on. Let's see. I'll go to another article and read some more. Patrice Lamumba, the first legally elected prime minister of the Democratic Republic of the Congo, was assassinated 50 years ago today on January 17th, 1961. I keep saying 17th. Well, again, the information, my other resource says the 15th. So maybe his assassination is just recognized on the 15th, but it actually took place on the 17th because all the information is pointing to that. So again, using Occam's razor, I'm going to go with what seems to be the most consistent. So he must have been assassinated on the 17th, but is recognized on the 15th. So we'll just leave it at that. In 1961, this heinous crime was a culmination of two interrelated assassination plots by American and Belgian governments, which used Congolese accomplices and a Belgian execution squad to carry out the deed. Nulo de Witt, the Belgian author of the best book on this crime, qualifies it as, quote, the most important assassination of the 20th century, end quote. The assassination's historical importance lies in a multitude of factors, the most pertinent being the global context in which it took place, its impact on Congolese politics since then, and Lumumba's overall legacy as a nationalist leader. For 126 years, the U.S. and Belgium had played key roles in shaping Congo's destiny. In April 1884, 7 months before the Berlin Congress, the U.S. became the first country in the world to recognize the claims of King Leopold II of the Belgians to the territories of the Congo Basin. When the atrocities related to brutal economic exploitation in Leopold's Congo Free State resulted in millions of fatalities, the U.S. joined other world powers to force Belgium to take over the country as a regular colony. And it was during the colonial period that the U.S. acquired a strategic stake in the enormous natural wealth of the Congo, following its use of uranium from Congolese mines to manufacture the first atomic weapons, the Hiroshima and Nagasaki bombs. So as you can see, it behooves America to push interactions with a lot of the natural resources that are used in a lot of devices, materials that we use today in the current world in contemporary time come from Africa. They're mined from Africa, just like the majority of the raw minerals that we value so much, like gold, diamonds, rubies, all the precious gems. a lot of those are mined in Africa. So it is in the best interest of the Europeans who have taken over, stolen these lands from these native Africans to be there in order so that they can profit from the wealth that resides in the soil of Africa. With the outbreak of the Cold War, it was inevitable that the U.S. and its Western allies would not be prepared to let Africans have effective control over strategic raw materials, lest these fall in the hands of their enemies in the Soviet camp. It is in this regard that Patrice Lumumba's determination to achieve genuine independence and to have full control over Congo's resources in order to utilize them to improve the living conditions of our people was perceived as a threat to Western interests, like I was saying. To fight him, the U.S. and Belgium used all the tools and resources at their disposal, including United Nations Secretariat under Dag Hammarskjöld, that's how I was going to get said, and Ralph Bunche, to buy the support of Lumumba's Congolese rivals and hired killers. So like I said, Patrice Lumumba wanted to unite his country and probably ultimately all of Africa. But he wanted to unite his country and his people. He wanted Europeans out of his country. He wanted them out. He wanted to be able to control the resources that were native to their lands so that their people can gain wealth and be on a level playing field with the Europeans who were bleeding dry and sucking the life out of Africa, who continue to do that to this day. Let's see, I'll move on. Now, on June 30th, 1960, the Democratic Republic of Congo officially took its independence from Belgium, and at 35 years old, Lumumba became the country's first prime minister. However, nationwide disarray was to follow with vicious leaders vying for power, including Belgium, forfeited secession of the region of Katanga, headed by, Moise Shumbe? Yeah. With the country falling under control of military leader Joseph Mobutu, Lumumba was captured and, though at one point escaping, was eventually taken to Katanga, where he was beaten and killed. We've already gone over the death of Patrice Lamumba. Let's see. Remembering the U.S.-backed assassination of Congo's first democratically elected leader 50 years later. Let's see. And this is just a series of different articles that people have wrote. So I'll read a little bit. This marks the 50th anniversary of the assassination of Patrice Lamumba, the first democratically elected leader of what is now known as the Democratic Republic of the Congo. Lumumba's Pan-Africanism and his vision of a united Congo gained him many enemies. Both Belgium and the United States actively sought to have him killed. The CIA ordered his assassination but could not complete the job. Instead, the United States and Belgium covertly funneled cash and aid to rival politicians who seized power and arrested Lumumba. On January 17, 1961, after being beaten, So, as you can see, there was a conspiracy to get rid of Patrice Lumumba, because if you are of African descent and you want to be independent from European rule, if your country or your land is something that they see value in, they can't let you have it, because for some reason it seems that the powers that be in this world do not want people of African descent or native Africans themselves to actually be able to acquire and achieve the levels of wealth that Europeans have amassed over the past centuries. It is a threat to them for some reason. They have to control you, because in controlling you, they get to control what you do. They control your lands. They control the natural resources, which helps them to acquire more wealth and land to be able to assert more control over more people. Let's see. Yet Lumumba's short political life as with figures like Thomas Sankara and Steve Biko, who had equally short lives, is still a touchstone for debates about what is politically possible in post-colonial Africa, the role of charismatic leaders, and the fate of progressive politics elsewhere. The details of Lumumba's biography have been endlessly memorialized and cut and pasted. A former postal worker in the Belgian Congo, he became political became political after joining a local branch of the Belgian Liberal Party, which I've already read. So a lot of this information is pretty much some of the same info, just over and over again repeated. Let's see, I'll read a little bit of this. A few days after the Congo gained its independence, Lumumba raised the pay of all government employees except for force publique personnel, causing discontent among their ranks. Many members of the force also had strong objections toward their Belgian-only officers. General Emile Janssens, the army head, told them nothing would change after independence. Soldiers who believed that Lumumba's promises of officer training of Congolese members would take too long to come to fruition. They mutinied in protest in Leopoldville and Thysville on July 5th, beginning the Congo crisis. The next day, Lumumba dismissed Janssens and promoted all Congolese soldiers one grade, but mutiny spread out into the lower Congo. Although the trouble was highly localized, the country seemed to be overrun by gangs of soldiers and looters, causing immediate sensation, particularly over Europeans fleeing the country. In response, Lumumba announced over the radio, quote, "Thoroughgoing reforms are planned in all sectors. My government will make every possible effort to see that our country has a different face in a few months. In a few weeks," end quote. In spite of the government's efforts, the mutinies continued. Mutineers in Leopoldville and Thysville only surrendered upon the personal intervention of Lumumba and President Kasavubu. On July 8th, in an attempt to alleviate the situation, Lumumba renamed the force publique the Army National Congolese. He then Africanized the force by appointing Sergeant Major Victor Lundula to be General and Commander-in-Chief, while also choosing General Minister and former soldier Joseph Motubu to be Colonel and Chief of Staff of the Army, who would eventually sell him out and assist in assassinating the man. Let's see. This is a quote from Che Guevara, 1964. "We must move forward, striking out tirelessly against imperialism. From all over the world, we have to learn lessons which events afford. Lumumba's murder should be a lesson for all of us." Let's see. Patrice Lamumba was Prime Minister of the Congo for 81 days from June 23rd to September 14th, 1960. To his supporters, Lamumba was an altruistic man of strong character. He favored a unitary Congo and opposed division of the country along ethnic or regional lines. Like many other African leaders, he supported Pan-Africanism and liberation for colonial territories. He proclaimed his regime one of quote-unquote positive neutralism, defined as a return to African values and rejection of any imported ideology, including that of the Soviet Union. Quote, "We are not communists or Catholics. We are African nationalists," end quote. Another man who more than likely was inspired by Marcus Garvey. And I see nothing wrong with that. Patrice Lamumba, a great man. He was the leader of his country for a short time. He was, in 1966, Patrice Lumumba's image was rehabilitated by the Motubu regime, and he was proclaimed a national hero and martyr in the Democratic Republic of Congo by a presidential decree. The Brouwer's house, site of Lumumba's burial, torture on the night of his murder, became a place of pilgrimage in the Congo. Patrice Lamumba was a great man. Patrice Lamumba should always be remembered for what he tried to do for his country and fighting against colonialism and imperial rule, which Africa is still suffering from to this day. Just about every country in Africa, especially the coastal countries, are being taken over and controlled and ruled by non-African people. And it's not because African people can't run their own countries or govern their own people. It's because that all these non-African individuals see profit in the ground of Africa, and they do not want to allow people of African descent or native Africans themselves to gain any real wealth in this world. Plain and simple. They'll pay you to turn on each other, but they won't pay you no mind and let you run your own country and delve out the natural minerals and resources as they see fit, to whom they see fit. But that's all I have for Patrice Lamumba, because I don't want the video to be but so long. Again, Black History every day, not just 1 month. It's the shortest month of the year, and you're being shortchanged. If you only think that you can learn about your people and your history only once a year, then you have been thoroughly brainwashed. Every day is Black History. This is knowledge of self-determination. Like, mind, and subscribe. I'm out. Peace.